How may I assist you?
I got into an accident yesterday. Just want an assessment. I don't know if you can assist me with that.
Sure, I can. Can you hold on 1 second, please?
Sure.
All right.
Hey guys, once again welcome back to Speed St Lucia. Today we're here with a special guest, we should say, Mr. Mauricettes. He's here to tell us about his garage and what do you do. And remember, this is my garage segment, so let us see how it goes. Mr. Mauricettes, welcome to the show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Tell us, how did you start up this business? What started the whole business for you?
Well, actually, it's a situation after I got out of school. After graduation, I was job hunting, and what I had in mind, the workshop that I wanted to work in, I couldn't see it happening in St Lucia just yet. So I always wanted to work for a well-established workshop, you know, knowing that you could go to the bank and tell them you work in there and they could recognize that and give you a loan so easily and so on. So that was not happening. So I eventually had that vision to put together my own shop. It's not something I really wanted to do, but it just happened. And one of the things that caused it is because of that same reason. I didn't think I wanted to work in a shop that was not a well-known shop and so on. So the plan came about. It took a very long time to materialize, you know, financing and all these things. I mean, I came from a family that had a rich family name, but not a rich family. People really thought, and even with all of that, I mean, where I got to now, there was no help with any family members. It was just the banks and putting a plan together how it's going to happen. It didn't work out based on the time that I expected to happen, but eventually it happened. I just never gave up. And it started off by, I went to school to do auto mechanics. And then after graduating, I was job hunting. I got an opening where they wanted an apprentice body man, which is not what I really wanted because it's auto mechanic I did at school. I mean, it's still playing with cars, but it's similar. So I decided to take it on anyway, hoping that I would get a transfer because it was a big garage. At the time, Government Fund Scheme, for people who would remember that garage. So I took it up, and then they used to do mechanical work. They also doing body work, and I was working as an apprentice there. But then I ended up getting to like it so much that even when I got an opportunity to get a transfer to the mechanic section, I turned it down.
You stayed in the
because I find the body work got more interesting. Now as an apprentice, I was just gaining the knowledge, and the thing is, I was learning from the guys who were in it before me. But when I asked them certain questions they could not answer, or the answers were ridiculous answers. It didn't make sense. Even like how to mix the paint. The guy just take the paint and show me when it's dripping from the rule, and it didn't make sense to me. But in doing that, I happened to look at the tin that he was using, and I saw it said directions, and it was actually telling you how to mix the paint and everything. So then I gave up on the locals to teach me, and then I started reading up on when I get products. And with all of that, I started continuing my work, learning and reading, and then I find myself working with that company, and they closed down after 3 years. Then they reopened. Somebody bought over, they reopened, and they rehired me. I started working with them, but I didn't see a future there. So I ended up resigning after 6 months, and from then on, that's when I became on my own, and my plan had to be put in place. So I decided, you know what, I will save some money, which was a hard thing as a new worker, small salary, right? I started getting some private work, and that's what had me to resign from my job, because I was actually making more money privately than what I was getting from the company I was working with. So then I ended up saving some money with all of that and started buying equipment, buying tools. I went for a lot trying to get a well-established place for me to set down a shop, which was what I wanted to do, because at the time my parents were renting a house. It's not like it was their house. No property to help me with anything. And that was where I decided, you know what, okay, I have to look for a piece of land to buy. That was another challenge. It would be a long story to tell you all about that, but eventually when I got the property, I decided I'll take it step by step, pay off the loan, and when I pay off the loan, then I'll look at building the shop itself now. And even one time I was looking for partners to go into the business, financial partners, because the financing I did not have. and sometimes the banks with the deposits they may want and all this kind of thing. So I decided, after I paid off the lot, it was there for a few years. I was looking, there was a certain guy who was looking for a bank that was supposed to come in with me, but while I was waiting for him, I even formed a company to sell him shares and for us to start off together, where he would have he would put in a lot of his finance in and come in as a selling partner from what I was learning. But while waiting for him, every time something would come up with him and he had me within a year past, a second year past, eventually I went to talk to the banks. And I decided I would try more than one bank before, because from my experiences, the banks, even when I was looking for land, one of the banks had told me that I'd applied for a loan for a piece of land way up in the north that was Massad, and all what they asked me for, I got it, deposit. I even had a car that I didn't owe the bank. I sold the car to raise the deposit just to give them so I got the deposit. I got everything else they wanted. They took 2 months to tell me no, they did not give me the loan. And the person who was actually holding the land for me, he was frustrated and everything, and he was at me, and even to disappoint him, telling him I can't get the loan. So eventually that went behind, and I had to go looking for land elsewhere again and trying to see which other bank. Even another bank I approached had approved the loan, and they were ready to give me the money. But the excuse was they cannot see where I come up with that kind of deposit as a young fella, you know, and they turned me down. So you find out the other bank had approved it, but because of the amount of money for land, they had to now disapprove it, because it went to head office. The loans officer with the bank approved it in St Lucia, but head office said no. So I was back crying again, and then I went through searching for land and thing. So eventually I got the land, paid off the land, and then I decided I want to set up the shop now, and that's where I was looking for a partner to help with some financing. But in talking to one of the first banks I went to, they made me realize, but the time I left the property, the land there, the value of the land had gone up so much that I had the deposit all along to do the shop. So the money I was borrowing from them now, the land was the deposit, so I didn't need to put a deposit. So that turned out very well. So then I forget about the partner who was supposed to help me financially, and then I took it on my own. But then it had a lot of challenges, but I just never gave up. And if I have to go through all of it, it'll be a longer story, so we'll just stick to it. But it's something, I had a passion for the work itself too. I mean, me being a manager or director of my business is not what I really want. I'm a technician, and I'd rather be the technical person in the work itself. I still do a lot of work, but I get disturbed so much from when I work in that I don't get a lot done anymore, because I have a staff of about 20 that always depending on me to deal with certain issues they may have. Then I have customers to deal with as well, and all this kind of thing. So
now you become the office man.
Well, yeah, it's something. It's difficult to get people to help, because even with me putting that plan together and that shop materializing, with me reading, sometimes I came across, and I have partners who in business too that I try to learn from them and things. And I remember one of them told me about this book where it says that you if you start off a business based on you just getting to be good at something you do, and then you start to do it as a business, that doesn't mean that you can run the business, because you might be a technician but you might not be a manager. So I understood that very well. Lucky for me, I had my wife that did business management, and she had a degree in it, and she came on board with me, so she put some of the administrative things in place, you know, and that was a little bit of a help. The human resource management part, maybe not so much. I wish I take that more serious. But you see, what I from my experience, what I realized when it comes down to businesses, the type of business we're in, the category of people that you need to work with you, sometimes it's guys who drop out of school. They didn't follow the school system for whatever reason. Some of them might have been financial issues where their parents could not send them to school and things like that. Now I actually studied that well, and I realized that is what it is. Because those that had the monies to go to school and follow the school system as they should, they didn't have the discipline. So like they were still a problem. But those that probably were unfortunate the money wasn't there, at least when they got to a wise part of their life, they realize, okay, I need to get serious, and this stayed serious. So I have these kind of fellas who can me. Some of them can't read and write, but they have the discipline to move on, and they get in somewhere.
And they're very good at
right, and they're good at what and they're good, and they have, you know, they're not rude guys, they think, but there are some guys when you have the background, you see in their family who could have afforded. They went to school and everything, but because they don't have that discipline or they feel wherever they are, then they tend to be, you know, not the type of character you would want to work with. You know?
So tell us what I mean, everybody knows about the name Mauricettes Garage, right? What sets you aside from, say, some of the other garages that we have around? Because it takes a lot for you to be known as one of the best.
Well, I think it's the quality of the fact that I have a passion for it. I think when I started off, I was doing it not for the love of the money, not because I wanted to make a business out of it. I was doing it because I liked it. The first job I remember doing, it was something a customer approached me with and asked me, because he knew I was an apprentice working with government at the time. He asked me if I think I could fix his vehicle. So I looked at it, and at the first glance, it was something I didn't think I could do, but I decided, you know what, I'll give it a try. And then when I did it, and after doing it and I looked at it, I was so amazed at myself, knowing what the vehicle was and what it is it after. And I think even one of the things that got me to be so popular, even then too, even with that first job I did, we were living in Babono, and I did that job by the road. So here in my parents' house, a house we were renting though, and then I took the side of the house, a little lot there, and I decided to put the vehicle there to get repaired. First I started that job at the person's house, but then because I was leaving work and I had to go home and change and then go back to his house, sometimes it would get dark fast and so on. So that I told him, you know what, if you bring it to my house, it will be easier and faster. So we did just that. I remember when the vehicle was coming by my house, the neighbor looked at it and said, where are they going with that whole thing? Why did they throw that? Because if it was a damaged vehicle, the wrecker was bringing it there. And then everybody could see the progress of the vehicle as it was going through the stages. We had the cab off the box here, the thing was in pieces, put it together. When they noticed the vehicle sprayed and they started driving that around, everybody was amazed. So then by that time, everybody started checking me to work for them. Everybody wanted me to fix their car, everybody wanted to buy a wreck and bring it for me and things like that. So I think word of mouth, it just went just like that, and then that's what got me popular. And I think one of the other things is, you see, I wasn't doing it for money, so the prices was good. The people, being honest with people too, you know, you tell them such is the case, and I think that makes them stick with me as a customer, because I have customers from the time I started who are still with you, depending on me to fix their cars all the time.
Yeah, but I realize you speak about the prices and whatnot. What other services apart from that? I mean, because people normally hear Mauricettes and they say, boy, you know, Mauricettes is one of the most expensive garages in St Lucia. Boy, you want to see a vehicle? I mean, from personal experience, I know, but I know what your price is. Let's be honest. But also, people have, well, your shop has a stigma that says expensive, and I don't know why. Maybe you can explain to them why.
Well, I myself, that's something I've been trying to figure out why that might have happened. I had this guy who used to work with me, supervising the shop, and it was part of his duty to attend to customers. So, and he used to do the in-house pricing for the jobs, whereas I would just do the insurance damage estimates and reports and so on. So it was a big help for me with him being there until when he decided to leave and open his own shop. But he had actually worked with me 17 years. I don't know if during that time his pricing was a little on the hotter side, because I tried to analyze and figure out what might have caused people to do that. But I think there's some areas where I found out what might be doing it. But I wanted to think that maybe because even some prices he would charge, and when I heard customers would tell me, boy, your partner charged me so much, and then I went to him and I told him, but to me he could have done that for a better price, you know, because of so and so and so. And then I used to think that he was sometimes overcharging the customers, which maybe might have been good for us in a way, but at the same time I don't want to be overcharging customers. And I always believe with a shop like mine, if I have that much space, I have better equipment, I do much more work than all the other garages, I would think I get better discounts, I can negotiate for better discounts with the paint dealers and so on. So I think I have that edge over the other garages that I supposed to work cheaper than them. That's how I always saw it. But I was just trying to wonder where, and I don't think that was the case, because now I'm finding out also from a lot of the insurance companies that I am cheaper than a lot of the small shops. To give what I'll explain to you, the insurance council, I am a part of the insurance council in that I'm a approved garage. They put something in place where they give us a formula to work with, like we work per hour, especially for insurance companies. So here I am working for $80 an hour, and I'm saying, but how can I be more expensive when all of us work for $80? And even when garages found out that the insurance council cannot dictate how much we work for, because there's not a price control on labor for garages.
True.
Right? So when they found out that, they decide, well, you know what? They're not going to worry about the insurance council. They put their own rate. So then some of them started working for $90 an hour, some $100 an hour. I never went over $80 an hour. So how could I be the most expensive? That's one of the things I always try to wonder. How can they say that? But as I told you, I said maybe it could be my partner who was maybe expensive in his pricing that caused that. On the other hand, I think what might have happened is guys who worked with me who were trained here, and when they could work now, they went and opened their shop, and they were actually telling people that, when they would get a customer coming in, and when they price the job and they tell the customer it's so much to get it done, they try to tell the customer, they still get Mauricettes, and if you go by Mauricettes will charge you twice the amount. And
I think I've heard that before.
I got that happening here. I actually got, because I had customers who come and ask me like, how much to spray a car? When I told them it depends, I would have to see the car. When they brought the car for me to see, and then I finally gave them the price, they told me, somebody told them I would have charged them like $3,000 or $4,000 more. So when I told them, but who would tell them that? When they told me the garage, I was surprised. I said, but I didn't think that garage would do that for them to get a job from a customer. I think use another technique, but not to try and play like I would charge. And the thing about it is people believe them because they think, okay, the guy was working here, you would have an idea of what I charge customers. Yeah. But if you know, my workers inside there have no idea what I charge customers. The only people who would know is the front offices, because they're the ones putting everything on the thing. But apart from that, the technical staff inside of there, they have no idea how much I charge. As a matter of fact, I think there's one who worked with me very, very long. He actually was a daily paid worker, right? When he realized that there was a demand for highly skilled workers, he resigned from his job after 14 years. All the benefits he had, holidays, if you know severance pay, if you had to fire him or anything, he left that alone, and he just resigned, and he went and started doing contract work around the place, job work. So you find like he would just come and say how much he wants to get that job, and then when he finishes we pay him and he leaves. So he was doing it with garages all over the place. And I mean, he sometimes when he prices the jobs, and what he does is he doesn't do the full job, he just does 1/3 of it. So the other 2/3 I have to do it. So I have parts men taking off the parts, I have primer men, prep men, car washing, the person who have to wash the cars, the secretary, and all these other people to pay on that same job. But if I charge you $5,000 to do a job, he would come and ask for $2,000, and then he would leave me with $3,000 to share among everybody else. By the time I get mine, he has more than me, if to put it in the simplest way. You understand? So even when I try to make him understand, that's not even a 50-50. You benefiting more than me, and the burden is mine. If tomorrow the customer have an issue and he brings the vehicle back, it's me coming to not you. You know these kind of things, but they doesn't understand that. They just know the skill is in demand, and they just want that, and that's what it is. And funny about it, I was speaking to another, actually that guy is a contractor, and he told me he's facing the same thing in construction. Labor, highly skilled labor is in demand. It's very big, and the fellas like, when they're aware of it and they figure that you know they work better than the other guys, then they tend to demand that, you know, that you have to pay them so much. But going back to your real question, I myself still trying to figure out why people would say I don't know if it's the whole image of the shop, if it gives them the thing as it is. But if they're smart, they would understand that we may even be cheaper. So I could only advise them always get your quotes, 2 quotes. You come to us, get a quote, and you go out there and get the quotes. Now there are some people who did it and come back and tell me, boiler, and you charge me $5,000. I figure I go and buy that guy, and that guy charging me $6,000-7,000, and then they realize that we're not so expensive. But how many people really do it? Those that out there believing that other people are saying we're expensive, then they're the ones losing out.
Yeah, but is it something that people are of the opinion that they do not understand what it takes to get their vehicle repaired at an auto?
Well, some of it too. Yeah, some of it too, because even now I have to explain to people that you can get many different types of materials you can use in your vehicle. Some of them are very durable, some of them expensive, some of them not so expensive. Like I experienced that because even with the competition now, I had to consider using other products to be the competition, because there was one time you would only get a handful of good garages that can do a good job for you. When you talk about spray in a car, right? You would only get maybe in the north here in St Lucia about maybe you could actually count how many of them that could do it on your hand. So you find it doesn't matter what products you do or what price you will charge. If a man want a good job and he come there, he know he have to pay so much money to get it done. But with the knowledge getting out there and more people getting trained and things like that, you find the competition got a little tough now. You get a lot of people spraying cars very well. There's once upon a time I thought I wouldn't be able to get a proper painter, somebody I could trust that would spray cars for me, and I was still doing it up to a point. I was still doing all of it myself until when I got this guy, and he's actually working with me 26 years, so it didn't take overnight for him to become a good painter.
Wow.
And he works very well.
Years.
Yeah, he's actually working with me 26 or maybe more, because the time flies fast. The last time I checked, and I actually paid him off his severance pay as a form of appreciation and loyalty for sticking around, because that's another guy. A lot of my workers, when I train them, go through so much to, when you talk about training somebody, you're talking about investing in them, and there's a lot of things you invest in and you lose out on it, which is similar to me. If I train them and I gone through the wastage, when they waste a lot, that's my thing. I have to pay them to train them, because a lot of the young fellas who leave secondary school comes there and they're looking for jobs, no experience. I tell them, well, okay, I'm going to train you. Would you work for 6 months with no pay? The fella looking at me with what you're talking about. So that means I have to pay them to train them. So it's a big cost for me in the first 6 months to a year. They waste a lot of materials. Their punctuality is another problem. They walk in late sometimes, all kind of problems. And eventually when they can't work now, then they either leave the job or sometimes you have to send them away because the whole attitude changing and everything.
Because they leave after a year.
And they want a lot of money too. Even if you paying them all that time while you're training them, they're not saying, well, okay, let me work for a year or 2 years before I demand more money so I can pay him back. No, they just turn around and they demand more money, and if you don't pay them, then somebody else will pay them. So they leave the job and they go with somebody else.
So what do we expect what does somebody expect if they walk into your shop at this point? Because it's all well and good that people know the quality of your work and everything else. What do you expect when you walk into the shop?
Well,
as a new
customer? What people, because even some customers that I've had who has been with us so long, and then I realize they use other garages, because in driving around sometimes I see their vehicles, especially look at that one, rental companies where they own several vehicles. A lot of the guys put their logos on their vehicles. You can identify the vehicles based on the stickers they have on the tailgate or whatever. So I know when I see the vehicles, I know who owns that vehicle and how come they're not bringing the vehicle here anymore. So when I think about it, I say okay. But even what I realize now, as the cars get older, they figure, well, the value of the car is not much, so they're not looking for the best. So if they get a man charging them a little cheaper to do it, they'll go there instead. But I realize when they have newer vehicles, they come back here instead. So they don't trust the other garages sometimes. You see, so I think it's a whole thing of trusting, knowing that you'll get a job, and we offer a warranty on our work, which a lot of garages don't really do. And surprisingly, 5 years warranty on a paint job. I mean, we have conditions there because we have warranty we offer on our jobs. And as I was telling you, a paint job is 5 years, but it have conditions where if the vehicle was painted in another shop and we don't know what the person did there, we can't give a warranty on that. If it's an OEM paint job, after 5 years, maybe the paint gets dull, and like some vehicles, you see the top of the bonnet getting losing its gloss or it's killing
Mr.
up.
Morissette saying chat for me there, like the top of my...
Right, yeah, well, if your car is like that, you know what I'm talking about very well. Now, if it was painted before in a local garage, and we're not sure. Now, there are some garages I know that do the work properly, that I can trust, and I'll say, well, okay, if I know that garage painted that vehicle, then I can still offer the warranty. But if it's a garage, and even sometimes we can do certain tests that can tell us if we might end up with problems that might pose something for us. So, but one of the things, if that happens, we tell the customer, well, look, if the vehicle was repainted before, now it's in that state and we have to do it over. If you want us to offer warranty, then you have to pay for us to remove everything and start all over.
Start over again.
But it can be a costly
endeavor.
Yeah, you know, so it's their choice if they want to pay for it. And there are some of them that actually pay for it because they intend to hold the vehicles long and they always want a good job.
I never even knew that was one of the services that was offered here.
The warranty?
The warranty on the
Yeah,
paint.
I think one of my workers actually told me we're not marketing ourselves well enough and all that thing, but the answer that I had to give him is the same thing. If you look at outside of the workshop and you see the amount of cars we have, we still get too much work, more than we can handle. So I'm afraid to market myself too much. That would cause overwhelm of work and that I cannot handle all of it. Now, for years since I built that size workshop, I have not utilized the space that I have there as a lot of time. Yeah, because we don't have workers for it. All the times I have to be retraining people all the time, and then you find to get reliable people to get the work out quickly, because one thing we lacking is deadlines to meet deadlines. But I prefer do a good job for a customer than try to rush the job and give it to him and he come back with complaints.
I agree.
So you know, so sometimes you might hear that about us that we cannot meet our deadlines. You know, that's one of our downfalls. But for a good job, it's a good job we always try to give.
I agree with that. It's better that you do you do something.
I mean, even I offer a rental service for our clients too when their vehicles are here. And and lucky for us, some of the insurance companies take advantage of that. And what we do is, if your vehicle is in the shop and your insurance is paying for rentals, if they're only paying for 10 days or they're paying for 5 days, if we take more than that, we only charge for the days specified. We don't charge for more. I've had situations where people have had my vehicles for a month and they only paid for 3 days.
Wow. Because that's just because you've...
If it's our fault that the vehicle is still in the shop, then we will not charge the customer. There are some insurance companies, the relationship I have with them, I try to make them look good by leaving the vehicle with the customer. Sometimes even if it's because of parts not available, but the contract states that if it's parts that causing the vehicle to stay down, then we cannot do it. But sometimes I allow it to happen anyway if I know. You know,
that's good customer service.
Yeah, well, that's what we try to do.
So, are there any special things that makes you? Because I mean, I didn't want to bring it up, but I think I'll bring it up. Like, I've heard that Mauricettes garage is one of the only garages in St Lucia that has what do you call it, the paint room with chassis. Yeah, well, I'll tell you for sure. Again, one of the things I could have told you earlier, but I didn't want to go in depth of everything. It would have been the interview would have been too long. I was fortunate enough to get a lot of training coming my way, and a lot of it was overseas. I've been to Holland, Germany, Barbados, very often, Trinidad, and fortunately when I went there, it opened up my mind to a lot of things. Because even to lay out my workshop floor to decide how to set it up for the work to get done, this is one of the things where I got a lot of help. I did body shop management courses as well, at least 3 of them, and together that the experience out there, I was using, for instance, when it came to spraying cars, when I started off, the guys were using a small spray gun, which was not a commercial kind of spray gun. And I always wonder why body shops in St. Lucia was using that. When I travel and I look at the other body shops, what they were using, I'm saying, but why they don't use those? So I was one of the first people to use a commercial gun, like even if it's a gravity feed, but what we call a high pressure gun in those days. The fellows called it high pressure because it could take any amount of pressure to spray to apply the paint with that gun. Whereas the gun that they used to use was a little gun that was sold at the hardware stores for a man doing a little thing at his home. And if you put too much pressure, it would burst the gun
and all the paint would be scattering in the shop. And I had a brother of mine who was in it before me, and he was using that same spray gun too. And when I came back from training one time, I said, no way, I ain't using that gun. I bought one of the commercial guns that we used to call a high pressure gun, and that's what I started using. And I think a lot of them kind of followed after, because even my brother, people thought I learned from him, but I was actually teaching him. You see, a lot of things I taught him, a lot of things I furnished him, because he was more into auto mechanics, and he was doing a little body work. But when I got into the bodywork field and I really got in love with, fall in love with it, and I started doing a lot of research to find the latest equipment and thing, I went ahead and started investing in them. So even when I did a lot of the training, when I go overseas and do training, when I come back, I share a lot of the information if it's one, you know.
Okay, so
and I was never a selfish person too, I can tell you that for sure. You know, I remember one time there were other guys who had small garages who were friends of mine in a way. They used to call me to ask me advice on products, certain products, what they should use there and there, how to mix this and that. And I remember one time the phone rang and I took the phone and I was advising somebody on the phone, and he was right there and he heard me telling the person. And he told me I should not share my tricks with people, you know. And to me, I thought about it and I said to me, most of the training that I got, it was not big monies I had to pay. Some of them I just had to buy the ticket to get there, and it was free tuition. So if I was getting that almost free, if I come back, why play selfish with it? I figure if a man better than me, I will be better than him tomorrow, because I will never stop, you know.
You continue developing.
Yeah,
yourself.
so for me the sky is the limit. Even as I am there now, we have the internet, we have YouTube and all these things. There's so many, and that's what I like about America and the Americans. How many times you go on YouTube and you see something in England, a man showing you how to remove a door panel on a vehicle or how to remove something. You don't see that on the English side at all. The Americans, well, they probably get rewarded from it based on the views and all these things, but it's still a nice thing to have. I know a mechanic partner of mine that owns a shop, and he kind of upset about, he always talking about how people fixing their car using YouTube. What's wrong in that if you can use YouTube to fix your vehicle? If you can get through with somebody showing you what to do, you know? Now, if I had that at the time when I was learning myself, I would maybe be better off. But in the days when I was picking up that YouTube and thing wasn't around, didn't have internet first to go. So I was wasting a lot of money with trial and error to try and learn certain things.
True.
When I get to travel overseas and I get the opportunity to ask questions, I get the answers that I'm looking for. You see, but that's just the way it is sometimes.
What services do you offer in general, apart from the spraying aspect, because people know that the body parts? What else do you offer?
As much as that's what a lot of people don't know, because I've heard other garages tell customers that Mauricettes is not a mechanic, he's bodywork, he's doing what he know about mechanic. As I told you, I went to school to do auto mechanic first, and even before I started job hunting and I really got a job, I did 1 year in the field of auto mechanics. Now I came from a family, a large family that is there. I had 8 brothers, 3 sisters. So you find most of them were into cars. My father himself was a jack of all trades, and he was doing a lot of body work, he was doing a lot of mechanic. The man had a car, he used to make parts for it when he can't get parts. If you take 2 ball joints, he weld them together, whatever, he would actually be making parts. And I think I could say, when I look at myself today, I like these kind of challenges, and I always remember my father, and I look at it and I say, I think I took that from my father. There's a lot of small parts that I take. For instance, I make parts for some vehicles sometimes. You know, we have a part problem in St Lucia. Getting parts is always an issue. So sometimes there's certain things the manufacturers would make. For instance, like maybe a door mechanism for the window and so on, and something breaking it. Or these folding mirrors, sometimes the mirror will just not fold anymore.
True. You
hear the motor working, but something breaking the mirror. I'll open it up and I'll figure out what break, and I make the part and I put it back and I get it working. And sometimes I do this all the time, and I like these challenges. I just like to figure out how that's working and why it's not working now, and fix it. You see, so I do a lot of these things, and I think it came from my father, because I remember him doing a lot of that himself too, you know. But the services we offer, going back to what you asked, I mean, we specialize in auto body repairs, but I sometimes would assist some of the customers with mechanical work, and even diagnosing. Diagnosing came about late too. I didn't do much automatic transmission at school. I didn't do much of it in the field to gain much experience, and the automatic transmission I don't like so much, so I don't interfere with it. So a customer will come there if it's automatic transmission getting problems, I will tell him straight I don't know anything about that, so take it to a
Get
specialist.
somebody else.
The little I may know is if his cable bursts and he not getting it to go in drive, I could figure that out. But from the time I realize it's something internal and that is not my part, I will not go in that. But what I like is the bodywork. We offer anything with bodywork, any little problems with dashboards, air conditioning and these things, we can take that up. We also, well, our specialty is chassis straightening and auto body repairs, refinishing, which is respraying the cars and all of that. That's what we really specialize in. And I think we have enough for that to just stick to that and try not to go into other things that would make us lose the quality in what we really.
Because I was just about to ask you if this is the ceiling for your shop, just the auto body repair and that's it, or do you?
Well,
see
to be
your
honest,
shop
if that's another thing I read and I think that's serious too. To me, when you reach a certain age, you have to now start to try and enjoy the rest of your life, the little that you may have left. We never know where the end is for us. So, but that saying was saying, when you turn 50, that's when you're supposed to start enjoying yourself and forget about investments. And I kind of agree that person who wrote that when they said that, because to me, when you cannot go with whatever you achieve afterwards, you know. And when I look at it now, if we had reliable people that could take over and because even when I look at, I only have 2 sons. Unfortunately, I wish I had more, but you know, it just happened that I only had 2. So these fellas, they are bright fellas. They're not so interested in auto body repairs. So far, the second one had spent a year in the shop with us working, and he actually can do the work, but the interest was not there. I think maybe he's only 18 years old. I think when I look at myself again, I started off and realized and started getting serious when I was 22. After I graduated from school, 18 years, I did a year doing a little mechanic here and there, but getting serious and understanding that we have to save money, have a serious job, and look at and plan our life. You know, I think that's what a lot of us don't do. Because even when I interview young fellas and things, I ask them these questions: where they see themselves in 5 years, and the answers they give me sometimes I find that so strange, and I'm saying, but you're not even trying to think of where you want to be next year or the next 5 years. I think it's something I always say, we have to plan our lives, even if we don't know how long we're going to live, but at least, because even so, when some of them come and tell me they want to go back to school, I look at them and I ask them, okay, you plan how you're going to do that already, and they have no idea how they're doing it. They just figure, well, I'll save money now and then somehow, you know. But if you don't put a plan to it and start to make it happen, because I can tell you for sure, with my shop, that plan was always there. It didn't materialize how I want to, but just the fact that I didn't give up, eventually it came about. It came out to,
you know, where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, this is again Speed St Lucia, and we have Mr. Aaron Mauricettes. So if you want to have the best of the best in quality and finished work, come down to Mauricettes Garage. Thanks for watching.